And joining us now on the line from Boston, Massachusetts, Bakyt Beshimov, former opposition leader and deputy in Kyrgyzstan's parliament. He's now visiting scholar at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Cambridge. Mr. Beshimov, it's good of you to join us on TVO tonight. How are you?
I'm fine.
I wonder if, as I welcome you to the program, we could start by just having you tell us some basic background about your country, because I think it's safe to say many people, until the last few weeks, have not heard much about it. So go ahead, give us a bit of background.
Oh, thank you very much. It's a rare opportunity for me to share my knowledge about my country. You're right. During the last 2 weeks, my country is the focus of international media, and because of the coup which happened on April 7. My country, it is a small country in the center of the Central Asia. It is the former Soviet Republic. We obtained independence 20 years back after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Its population is a small 5 million people, and about 600,000 of the Kyrgyz nationals today abroad. We are looking for better opportunities because country still is poor and corrupted country, and during the last 5 years it was the second coup because people really were upset by the corrupted repressive regimes, and many problems still, and we hope that these events will open avenue for new development, especially it's give chance for democratization.
Tell me about what happened 5 years ago, because people may remember something called the Tulip Uprising that took place then. Remind us, what happened?
You know, after 15 years under the corrupted repressive regime of Mr. Akayev, the people of Kyrgyzstan, they organized mass protests, and it was the meetings and demonstrations against the regime. And but unfortunately, these mass protests used by the group of bureaucrats who captured the power, and after that they turned their policy against the democracy. It was the great hopes that Kyrgyzstan after that will be more open country and will set up the prudent balance of power and will strengthen its political system and make its economic policy more effective. But it doesn't happen because the policy of Mr. Bakiyev, ousted president, and was really very corrupted. And it was he established the family-based regime, and they control all the assets of Kyrgyzstan, and it made the people of Kyrgyzstan angry. And in April 7th, it was the mass protest against this regime again.
Okay, so let's, again, I'm going to go back a few years here. You say there was too much corruption, too much nepotism under the Bakiyev regime. You were an opposition politician at the time, and you had to leave. How come?
Because it was a direct danger to my life. First, in 2009, they attempted to kill me, and they organized the car accident. And at that time, God saved me. And in 2009, in August, they decided just kill me, just shoot me. And I forced to leave my country. I was the leader of opposition group in parliament and investigated the corruption cases, especially connected with the family of president. 2 times I attempted to approach the constitutional court in order to bring to justice President Bakiyev, who violated many times the constitution and legislature of Kyrgyzstan. And it became the problem for my personal life, and I fled the country, and since the August 2009, I'm in the United States.
Tell me, did you have family and did you manage to get them out with you?
After 2 weeks of my arrival to the United States, my wife joined to me, and I was lucky because it was very difficult at that time. And you know that the repressive regime of Bakyt, they assassinated a lot of politicians, independent journalists, and they persecuted their opponents. And it was really a dangerous country until the April 7th.
Tell me now, I'll bring you back forward now to April 7th. What do you think was the spark that set off this latest uprising?
It is the coincidence of 2 factors. First, internal. It is the mass protests against the corrupted regime. And second, it is external. It is the influence of Russia. Putin, after 2 days of this coup, he says that Russia has not had a hand in this uprising. Russia has had a strong hand in this uprising, because before that, during 2009, it was the negotiation between the Kyrgyz government, Bakyt, and Russia. They attempted a lot in order to close the American air base, and they made the dirty deal with Bakyt. And then Bakyt, manipulated by the Russia and with the United States government, and he got the credit from Russia, signed the financial agreement about the $2 billion credit from Russia, and after that he changed his decision, and he doesn't close the airbase Manas. After that, the Russian administration, they attacked severely the regime of Bakyt. Therefore, Russia plays a decisive role in these events.
Well, you've put your finger on, I think, one of the most interesting things about your country, and that is, I think it might be the only country in the world where both the Russians and the Americans have military bases. And I wonder if you can tell us why that is.
Yes, you are right. It is the only country in the world hosting 2 air bases, and a distance between them it's 40 kilometers. One, it's the American base. American base opened after the events of September 11, and it was the right decision because until now this base plays a great role in the supply of NATO and the United States operations in Afghanistan. It's important, and it is important for our national security, and absolutely it is in our national interest, the presence of this air base. And second, it is important for regional security. And second air base, it is Russian air base. And today they are calling it not only Russian, but the air base of CSTO. But it is the decision to host this base in order to strengthen the regional security. It was the decision of CSTO.
Now, Mr. Beshimov, if you had your choice, who would you like to see being more influential in Kyrgyzstan? Would you like the Americans to have more influence, the Russians, or neither?
First of all, I would like to see my country in the future the member of democratic states, and democratization is essential. But I understand that today the first priority it is security, and it's important to successfully implement the strategy of state building. And the partnership with the big powers, it is important. And in this given situation, to make the Kyrgyzstan and territory of Kyrgyzstan is the area of the cooperation between the two big powers, it is possible. But unfortunately, our territory became the area of competition between the two powers. Secondly, I mentioned about the decisive role of Russia. This kind of interference of Russian administration to Kyrgyzstan jeopardized the sovereignty and independence of our country. Kyrgyzstan, politically the weakest state in the region. Therefore, we became the first probe. Who is the next? If Russian administration can change regimes like that, it is dangerous. Therefore, we would like to see the positive role of big powers in our country as well in Central Asia. Positive, it means we would like to see their contribution to the integrity of Central Asia, because only through integrity Central Asia can be successful states and more stable region, making this world more safe.
I understand your concern about Russian influence, but is it also not fair to say that too many Western powers have been interested more in stable government that they can do business with in your country rather than democratic government? Is that not fair to say?
You are right, because the behavior of United States and European Union in the last 5 years really proved your opinion, because they selected security as a first and only priority, and they were blind to the repression and persecution of opposition and abuse of the human rights. And the Kyrgyz events, it seems to me, should be the good lesson for the United States government and for European Union, because you know, the blind attitude to the dictators, it is very costly, and it is important to get the prudent balance between the security and democratization, because I do believe that Central Asia and my country has a chance to become gradually a democratic state.
Well, let me follow up on that then. Here we go again in some respects in Kyrgyzstan. We have a new government in place promising to do things differently and less corruptly than the previous government. How hopeful are you that this time it will really happen?
It is today promises, but in reality it is very difficult to implement what they are announcing today. First of all, it is important to get the dominance in the interim government of liberal-minded people, and it's difficult today. Second, if the control of Russia will be strengthened over the interim government, it will be difficult to follow the democratization, because, you know, the model of sovereign democracy applied by the Putin to Russia, and it's extended to our post-Soviet countries too. And third one, it is for interim government, it is important to keep the smart distance from the you know, influence of big states as well from their neighbors. It is important to do that. And I can understand situation today is very difficult, but even having 1% of chance, it is vital to use it smartly.
In which case, I need to ask you, do you plan to go back to help out?
No, interim government would like to organize elections in a coming October, and but it is very limited time to be better prepared. But the new constitution, the It's create some hopes, because a new constitution, briefly, it is about the good balance of power, and it is about more democratic attitude to the political system. It is about the check and balances.
Mr. Beshimov, we wish you well and thank you very much for coming on our television channel here in Canada tonight. All the best.
Thank you very much.